So in today's video, we are going to talk about the 3 reasons why the DJI Mavic 2 Pro is still the best drone for indie filmmakers and content creators in 2020. More on that after this. So while you guys are looking at some of the footage that I've taken with the Mavic 2 Pro, I figure I'll give you guys a little bit of my history with drones. So if you're new to this channel, my name is Geoff Fagien. I'm a filmmaker and director of photography based in South Florida, and I've been flying and filmmaking with drones since early 2013. I've pretty much had every Phantom, starting with the Phantom 1 that I actually have hanging behind me on my door, up until the Phantom 4 Pro. And in 2016, I decided to go serious, and I ended up getting my Part 107 certification, so that way I could legally fly drones and do business with them in the United States. As I had my Phantom 4 Pro, I really loved it. I loved the image quality, I loved the range I could get out of it, but the one issue I had with it was its portability. It got to the point where in 2018, I ended up really just using it on paid gigs and never really flew it for fun just because it was a pain to travel with, and that was a Phantom, not even an Inspire. Later in 2018, the Mavic 2 Pro and Zoom were announced. Instantly it caught my eye because not only was it a Mavic, so it was portable and could fold up, but it also had the image quality and arguably better image quality than the Phantom 4 Pro, having a 1-inch sensor that offered 10-bit video in 4K at 30 frames per second. Now, I was a little upset that they didn't offer 4K 60, however, I never really filmed in 4K 60 other than for action sports. I ended up picking up the Mavic 2 Pro, used it on a documentary right away, and fell in love with it. So let's talk about the 3 reasons why the Mavic 2 Pro is still the best drone in 2020 for independent filmmakers and content creators. And first, it's going to be the image quality. Disclaimer, of course, there are drones with better image quality than the Mavic 2 Pro, but a lot of them are more expensive, require bigger cameras like Micro Four Thirds size or APS-C size sensors. They're great, but they aren't necessarily for the independent filmmaker or the content creator who just wants to easily go out and fly. The drones are a lot bigger, the cameras are a lot bigger, and the price is a lot bigger. So with the image quality you get 4K 10-bit at 24 and 30p, which is great for my needs. I use it a lot for establishing shots. I use it a lot for when I'm flying, chasing vehicles. I want to not only be the camera operator, but I also want to be the pilot and know exactly where the camera is going to go in each scene. At launch, initially, they only let you film 4K and 10-bit in the crop mode, which basically did a 1x1 4K crop on the sensor. And what was cool was shortly after they made it to where you could shoot full sensor in 4K at 10-bit with no crop. So that was really great. The ability to have the 10-bit footage let me push the grades in post without having the image fall apart, which was a big plus using the Mavic 2 Pro moving from the Phantom 4 Pro, because with the Phantom 4 Pro, it was 8-bit, so most of the time I was shooting with the color baked in profiles, wouldn't have to worry about losing quality, artifacting, just dealing with a lot of the stuff you deal with color grading 8-bit footage in post. So the 10-bit was a huge win. So we got it. The image quality is really great. I really only shoot at 4K 24 and 30. There are other resolutions on this camera, but the only thing that caught my eye was the 4K 24 and 30. I've messed around with the other resolutions. None of them really come close to when you're shooting the full 4K quality at 10-bit. So the second thing on this list is going to be the portability, which I kind of touched on already. And again, the main reason I moved to the Mavic 2 Pro, aside from the 10-bit video, was the portability. The image quality on the Phantom 4 Pro was pretty decent, but the issue I had with it was traveling around with it, I needed an additional backpack or an additional suitcase, and it just added to my overall bulk, whereas, let's grab the Mavic 2. So here's the Mavic 2 Pro, which the Mavic 2 Zoom, the body is the same, it's just the camera that's different. And let's put it next to a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Sorry, I know I'm covering my face, but just to give you a size comparison, they are not too far off. So what's great about using the Mavic 2 Pro is the fact that I can put it in my backpack, in my suitcase, and it doesn't take up a lot of bulk like the Phantom 4 Pro did, and it has better image quality. The Mavic 2 Pro takes nowhere near the amount of space that the Phantom 4 Pro did, and I can stick it in my little sling backpacks or just DSLR backpacks and not really worry about the space that it takes up, and be able to offer really high quality aerial video or just be able to fly wherever I want and not have to kind of worry about planning to pack the drone. The third reason is going to be the range. So if you've messed with a lot of different drones from a lot of different companies, range is something that varies along the lines. And DJI was one of the first companies to have really good range in their Phantom line. And even at the time when they offered it, it was only a few miles of range, whereas this Mavic 2 Pro has really, really good distance. And I don't necessarily want the distance to fly this thing like 6 miles away, because that's not really practical. But when the drones have better signal transmission and can fly further, that means they have stronger signal transmission, which means you're less likely to drop the signal. And when you're flying, that's really important. The DJI Mavic 2 Pro has been a really great drone. Even having the Mavic 2 Pro, I still don't fly as much as I used to for a lot of my paid work, and it's really more because a lot of my work now is more short and narrative based. The drone really isn't needed when we're filming inside on sets, but because of the price point, the portability, the image quality, I've kept the Mavic 2 Pro just because whenever I've needed a really good quality drone, I've been able to just pick up my drone and fly when I need to, instead of having to go out and either, hire a pilot or rent another drone from somebody else just because I needed a drone for one specific shot. That is the benefit of having the Part 107 as well. So I do really enjoy the Mavic 2 Pro. And again, if you are an independent filmmaker, a content creator, and you do film with the drone every once in a while and you want image quality that's on that prosumer low-end professional level, well, the Mavic 2 Pro is going to suit a lot of your needs. In a lot of situations, it's actually going to save you more time and money to own a Mavic 2 Pro and be able to fly it when you want than having to rent an Inspire every now and then. If you're shooting features, television, and you're doing aerial video as your main line of work, then at that point, no, I probably wouldn't get a Mavic 2 Pro. I'd probably, at the very minimum, get an Inspire with either their Micro Four Thirds or their APS-C camera. But there are a lot of options in the high-end professional world of aerial cinematography. If you're using aerial videography and you're using it for your personal projects or small independent films, you're using it for YouTube, you're using it for local businesses that you're doing commercials for, the Mavic 2 Pro is pretty much the best aerial video content creation tool to add to your arsenal for that kind of work. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. And again, all of the shots I've shown throughout this video have been taken on the Mavic 2 Pro between now and 2018 when I first got the drone. And like I said, I have really enjoyed it. So if you got knowledge out of this video, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe and notification bell. And until next time, my name is Geoff Fagien. I'll see you guys in the next video.